how has it benefited us as players, or between our own player styles?
So
you tend to be very stealthy, right?
Yeah, and I don't need full auto. I mean, I like an instant trigger response, but even when I have a fast trigger response, I only shoot 2 to 3 times, and I'm expecting to hit it if I have my gun zeroed properly. But most of the time, I mean, that's why I like it for. It's light and it's easy to shoot.
Yeah, me with my playing style, it's
quiet.
Match me pretty perfect because I'm very aggressive. I like to get right into the center of like any field and just start getting into chicken fights with people. And when you have the advantage with the HPA, it makes it a lot more fun and it becomes more of a challenge. And I'm like Carlos too, where I just don't use full auto on it. Actually, this gun, I restricted to semi-auto only because I wanted to be a fair player when using HPA. I didn't want to be the asshole player out there who's doing 45 seconds and lighting people up. I was like, all I need is semi-auto.
I mean, I honestly, like, one of another pluses I have is the ability to make it quieter. Jeez, I can't
Yeah,
speak.
you put a custom suppressor on yours, right?
Well, I mean, I bought the suppressor, but I bought the suppressor specifically that could be pulled apart, so I could stuff it in order to make it quieter. Before it was pretty loud. Now, I mean, if you're across the field, you're not going to hear me shooting at you.
No freaking way. There's no way.
It's about time.
There's no way. It's alive. He's alive.
Yeah, but this Joe doesn't like HPA. So all I'm saying is switch over to HPA.
I say now we can get James's. So when using an HPA unit, some steps are required to get it set up. It's not like in AEG where like you buy it out of the box, you plug a battery in, and it works. You're gonna need a few more items. First, you're gonna need an air tank to pressurize your high-pressure airsoft gun. You're going to need a regulator that goes on top of the air tank as such, and then you're going to need a hose. You got to make sure that all this stuff is set up to the high-pressure regulations of the tank or the PSI of the tank. You don't want to be buying like hoses and tools from Home Depot and stuff. Make sure you're getting stuff from like an actual paintball source or an actual airsoft store. I suggest like Amped Airsoft has a ton of HPA stuff. They're a great go-to. Every field or most fields legally should have a regulator that you can adjust your PSI output on your air tank so that you aren't shooting too hot or so that you aren't cheating. So that is a must-have for HPA. Thus being another con to owning HPA, because you already spend $300 to $500 on the HPA engine itself, but then you're going to dump another $320 into your air tank, regulator, and hose, and that can cost you a lot of money. In the end, you're going to spend about $800 getting a full setup for an HPA gun, and that's on top of the $400 price that you probably paid for your AEG in the first place. So to get into HPA, you're going to end up dropping at least $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, and to a lot of players, that's just too much money. It's not worth it. So there's a con alone right there. That's probably the biggest con to HPA is the price tag attached to it.
It's better to do your research before you spend the money versus, just buying it and then figuring it out. Personally, that's what I view.
But it's funny because it's also a con because it can be complex, but it's also super easy to get into, and that's why you do see a lot of younger players playing with HPA because, you go to a store and you're like, hey, I want that. The store owner goes, hey, this is what you need. That's all you do. Plug and play. Good to go.
And honestly, Nate was telling me about getting a smaller battery, and I had no idea I could power just a small little, FCU unit?
Yeah, so your HPA gun needs some sort of power source to power it. It has to be above 3.4 volts for most, especially the Polar Star brands. I think some of the Amped Wolverine stuff, you need a battery source. It doesn't have to be just a 3.4 volt LiPo battery. You can power it off of an 11.1 LiPo with 7.4. I wouldn't go above an 11.1 though. You might fry out the CPU, but
I had no idea.
You had no idea.
And I was just using 11.1s, and then I burnt out 2 of my batteries that I've had for a while, and so I referred to Nate, and he was like, hey, you should get a small little battery. And it honestly, I charged it for maybe 30 minutes, and it played for 6 hours. And
so I had the opposite problem where I had the small little 7.4 volt, like 300 milliamp Polar Star batteries that are designed for HPA units. But the problem is if you leave it in your gun, it will die within a day, and then you'll never be able to charge it again. It won't hold a charge. So I always keep an 11-1 LiPo stick type in my gun hooked up to the Polar Star. It's been a month since I've used this, and it still holds juice in it. There's still power going to the FCU because you can hear the valve opening and closing when you pull the trigger. So you have different options for battery usage, and you can leave it in there. It's going to be fine. It's not going to do anything to the FCU unit. It's not going to burn it out or any of that.
And also, I mean, for certain drop-in units for HP, I know there are mechanical systems like the new Polar Star Kythera unit. It's a straight mechanical, and it completely removes the battery.
Yeah, a lot of Redline HPA units are fully mechanical now, where you don't even need any battery source at all. And the nice thing about not having a battery source is you don't have to worry about weather conditions.
Yep.
If it gets wet, it gets wet. You don't have to worry about it. Polar Stars or most HPA units are pretty weatherproof. You can run them in the rain and they won't fry out. The systems are very well weather protected. I wouldn't go throwing it into a puddle though, because they will probably fry out your FCU, and you don't want to do that. And then you're going to have to spend another $120 or more trying to fix your Polar Star. So they're weatherproof to an extent, but a lot more weatherproof than I'd say maybe an AEG, just in my personal preference. I've seen AEGs go up in the rain. I've seen them, stop working in the rain or short circuit. So.
And also another thing about the tank, I mean, we've gone to a few Milsim events, and I wanted to run this at, what was the Insurgency? The one that got canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
I wanted to run this, but, thinking of the tank, it would be too heavy, so.
I went to Amsato with my Polar Star originally in a Mark 18, and I had to carry, because it was a 3-day event, I had to carry 2 of these tanks on me, and within the first, maybe 8 hours of the day, I went through 1 tank.
Good now. All right, I gotta change my tank. You want to cover me?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do me a dandy favor? Side pouch.
Side pouch.
Disconnect hose. Twist the top part.
Where did nuts? Oh, is that that?
Okay, Carlos.
What?
Put this in pouch.
Pouch.
Put cover over it.
Cover over.
So you are limited on your air pressure. Depends how much you shoot, really, but you do got to keep an eye for that. But these tanks weigh a lot. If you carry these in a backpack, the extra weight, it builds up really quick, and it will tire you down.
Matters.
Every ounce really does matter when it comes to, if you have shit you're wearing the whole day.
So that's why, I would suggest AEG for a Milsim event. Or
Yeah, so bottom
gas
line, here's what I'm going to say between AEG and HPA. HPA is perfect for if you're at your local field and you want to play competitively in a CQB environment, and you really just want to be at the edge of your performance and just really, go out there and slay as many people as you can. Weird word to use. But if you're really trying to be competitive, or if you're in speed stuff, you want to do that, speed QB type stuff, run and gun stuff, HPA is going to be great for you. You're not spending 3 days out in the woods. If you're going into Milsim, you're going to find an AEG is a lot more reliable.
Or the gas stock.
Or a gas stock, or a gas blowback gun altogether.
Blowback.
And that's simply because if your battery runs out, you change your battery, good to go.
Gas blowback, you run out of gas, you fill your gas back up.
And that's because you're not dealing with this tank and hose everywhere you go. That will slow you down and make your life a living hell if you're spending 3 days out there with all your gear on.
It's probably one of my biggest pet peeves is this line.
It is a big pet peeve, is having a line connected to your gun all the time, because...
And what happens if you fall?
You throw your gun. These lines, I think, are designed to disconnect after a certain pull or torque or whatever. Yeah, pound. But it's still attached to your body. Your gun's attached to your body no matter what you do. So you really can't just drop your gun and go. The one thing for me, so in my transition to HPA, what I had to learn the most with and really adapt to is running a tank and line on your kit. For me, it was a struggle to figure out what the best method was. Originally, I used to carry the tank in my backpack, and then I felt there's too much weight on my shoulders because I have water back there too with a bladder, and then mags in front, and weight in the plate, and it was just too much weight having a tank in my back. And I actually found it was easier to run on the side off of my my cummerbund on my my Cry Precision plate carrier, because it just distributed the weight easier, and it got everything out of the way, and allowed me to keep my line lower so I could move my gun better. So you have to play around with your personal preference of how you actually work with the line hose and the tank and all that.
And for me, I mean, I took a dump pouch and just strapped it straight to my back, and
He was still trying to figure it out
Yep,
up
and,
until now.
I mean, I still don't know
What
where
the
to
best
put
method
it because
is, yeah.
I do obviously like water. I need to drink water.
Can I get you anything?
Water would be nice.
And I would prefer to have a water source on me, but for a day game, I mean, I could just walk back to spawn, sip a few, and then go. But I mean, for long extended days, like Bad Blood, for
Yeah,
a
water weighs a
12-hour,
lot.
a 12-hour game, I'm definitely.
I still, if I was going to a Milsim event, would still run AEG over HPA. But if I'm playing at, you know, more of a game type event than it is like immersive,
Yeah.
I'd probably go with HPA.
But I mean, that is also based on your
It's all
personal
your personal
preference.
preference.
I mean, if you want to carry more weight, I guess, you know, work on your quads and
get a good
send
workout
it.
from it. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
why not? Pretty much it.
Pretty much covers why we switched to HPA, our personal thoughts on it. If you guys have any questions about HPA or if you want to get into it, feel free to like and comment below. I will try to get back to you and answer as many questions as I possibly can. I am very busy lately though. I work a lot. It's part of the reason why I haven't had a video up in a long time.
But I've been pushing for
Carlos has been pushing for it. We're trying to get back out there. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Anything else you want to put in there, Carlos?
Just chilling.
Just chilling, guys. Stay safe out there, and have a good day, everybody.
See you in the next video.
See you in the next video.
And scene.